There's a certain pause that happens when family gatherings come up. Holidays, weddings, birthdays, reunions. While everyone else is coordinating dates and meals, you feel something quieter settle in. Not panic, not anger. Just a calm, heavy knowing that you probably won't go. And when people notice, they look at you like something is wrong, like you're rejecting love itself. But here's what they don't understand. You're not avoiding family because you don't value connection. You're avoiding them because you finally learned what real connection feels like. This is the hidden psychology of people who avoid family gatherings. And once you understand it, your choice may stop feeling like guilt and start feeling like clarity. When showing up doesn't mean being seen. For many people, family gatherings are supposed to feel like home, warm, familiar, safe. But for others, they feel like performances. You walk through the door and immediately adjust. Your tone, your topics, your emotions. You laugh at the right jokes. You avoid the wrong truths. You become a version of yourself designed to keep the peace. And maybe nothing dramatic happens. No fights, no explosions, but you leave feeling strangely hollow, drained in a way that doesn't make sense on the surface. Psychologically, this happens when relational authenticity is missing. When you can't be yourself in a relationship, your nervous system registers it as a threat, not a loud one, a quiet, ongoing erosion. You're present, but you're not there. And over time, your body learns that showing up requires disappearance. The loneliest place is a crowded table. There's a particular kind of loneliness that only appears around people who are supposed to know you. You can be surrounded by relatives, food, laughter, tradition, and still feel completely alone. This loneliness isn't about isolation. It's about invisibility, being talked around instead of talked to, being tolerated instead of understood, being loved conditionally as long as you stay within the version of yourself that's acceptable. Many people who avoid family gatherings aren't antisocial. They're deeply relational. They crave real connection. That's exactly why shallow connection hurts so much, because it highlights what's missing instead of fulfilling it. Eventually, your mind asks a question that changes everything. What's the point of being somewhere I can't be myself? And that question isn't rebellion. It's psychological maturity. How emotional neglect teaches you to leave quietly. Not every difficult family was abusive. Some were simply absent in the ways that mattered. Conversations stayed surface level. Feelings were minimized. Needs went unnoticed. Psychology calls this emotional neglect. Not what happened, but what didn't. No one asked how you were really doing. No one noticed when you pulled back. No one mirrored your inner world. Growing up in that environment teaches you a subtle lesson. Your emotions are inconvenient. Your depth has no place here. So you adapt. You become easy, low maintenance, self-contained. Family gatherings then become reminders of that absence. You're not triggered by conflict. You're triggered by emptiness. And eventually, your nervous system decides solitude feels safer than being unseen in a crowd. The slow accumulation that leads to distance. People often assume you stopped going suddenly, but the truth is quieter. It happened gradually, moment by moment. Times you spoke honestly and felt the room go cold. Times you shared something meaningful and it was ignored or judged. Times you realized your role was to listen, not to be known. These moments accumulate, like water filling a cup, and one day the cup overflows. You don't announce it. You don't make a scene. You just stop showing up. At first, you make excuses. You're busy. You're tired. You're not feeling well. Eventually, you stop explaining. Because how do you explain that being alone feels less lonely than being with people who don't see you? Why this choice is often misunderstood. Society treats family as sacred by default. Blood is thicker than water. Family is everything. Obligation is confused with love. So when you step back, People assume you're selfish, cold, unforgiving. They don't see the years you spent trying, the emotional labor, the self-editing, the silent endurance. What they miss is that this choice usually comes after deep reflection. People who avoid family gatherings are often highly emotionally aware. They've examined their patterns. They've stopped confusing loyalty with self-abandonment. They aren't rejecting family. They're rejecting dysfunction, performance, the idea that love should hurt. The guilt that lingers even after clarity. Even when you know you're doing the right thing, guilt follows. Deep, inherited guilt. Because family conditioning lives in the nervous system, not logic. You wonder if you're being too sensitive, too harsh, too unforgiving. You replay memories searching for proof that you're overreacting. This guilt isn't evidence that you're wrong. It's evidence of how deeply the bond was wired into you. Humans are designed to protect attachment, even when attachment causes pain. Breaking away feels like breaking a rule written into your identity. But here's the truth that loosens guilt's grip. You don't owe anyone access to you at the expense of your peace. Love that requires self-betrayal isn't love. It's obligation, dressed as tradition. What happens when you finally don't go? The first time you decline honestly, it's uncomfortable. Reactions vary. Some people understand, others guilt you. Some get angry. Some rewrite the story to make you the villain. Statements like, family forgives, or you'll regret this, are attempts to pull you back into your old role. The role of the one who absorbs discomfort so others don't have to. But here's what matters. Their reaction doesn't define your boundary. Discomfort with your choice doesn't make it wrong. And sometimes the refusal to respect your boundary reveals something painful but clarifying. They didn't see you. They saw a role you were expected to play. The quiet relief no one talks about. After the guilt fades, something else appears. Relief. You notice your body isn't braced. You're not anticipating tension. You're not managing anyone's emotions. You're just calm. In that calm, you rediscover yourself. You rest deeper. You laugh more freely. You realize how much energy you were spending just to survive gatherings that were supposed to nourish you. This is often when a painful realization lands. This is what family is supposed to feel like. Safe, real, unforced. And if your family of origin couldn't offer that, you're allowed to find it elsewhere. In friendships, in chosen family, in solitude that finally feels like home. Chosen, family, and real belonging. Psychology recognizes the concept of chosen family. People bound not by genetics, but by care, consistency, and respect. Chosen family sees you without requiring performance. They hold space instead of roles. They celebrate who you are, not who you pretend to be. For many who step away from family gatherings, this is where real healing begins. Relationships that don't require recovery afterward. Connections that don't drain your nervous system. This doesn't erase the grief. You may still mourn the family you wanted but never had. Grief and boundaries can coexist. You can honor the loss without reopening the wound. Choosing love that doesn't require disappearing. People who avoid family gatherings aren't running from love. They're running toward it. The real kind, the kind that doesn't ask you to shrink. This choice doesn't make you broken. It makes you brave. Brave enough to break cycles. Brave enough to disappoint others to protect yourself. Brave enough to believe that love should feel safe. You don't owe anyone your presence at the cost of your peace. You don't owe anyone access just because you share DNA. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. Maybe one day things will change. Maybe they won't. Either way, you're allowed to build a home that doesn't require you to disappear to belong. And maybe that's the deepest truth here. You didn't stop going to family gatherings because you gave up on connection. You stopped going because you finally learned what connection is supposed to feel like.